Requirements relating to deductions for prepayments are set out in Subdivision H of Part 3 to the Income Tax Assessment Act of 1936. The purpose is to apportion deductions for prepaid services over the period to be provided, i.e. a matching approach similar to accounting principles. Hawthorn Proprietary Limited carries on a business but is not a small business enterprise. It prepays $2,000 for 2 years of commercial property insurance on the 1st of June, with the policy to start from the 1st of September. So how much of the $2,000 payment is deductible for this tax year? A deduction under Section 8-1 is allowed in the income year that the service is incurred. What this means is that a loss or outgoing from an advance payment is usually incurred for Section 8-1 purposes when paid. Courts have rarely applied the accounting matching principle, but there is an exception for finance and insurance companies issuing discounted bills. So, in line with Section 82 KZMD, the basic case is that for business expenditure, non-individual with non-business expenditure, or a small business enterprise choosing to use this provision, then a deduction can be claimed for each year that contains any part of the eligible service period, or ESP. This is not necessarily the same as when the payment is made. The deduction amount is determined by multiplying the expenditure amount by the number of ESP days in the current year divided by the total number of days in the ESP. Now, in Hawthorn's situation, because the policy starts in September, there is actually no part of the eligible service period that relates to the current income year. Therefore, no part of the prepaid premium is deductible. But what will be the insurance premium deduction for Hawthorn in the following income year? Well, in this year, the number of days of ESP is the number of days between the 1st of September and the 30th of June. We can then work out the deduction by applying the formula. George pays his rental investment property annual insurance premium of $1,200 on its due date for renewal being 1st of June. What will George's deduction be for the current income year? Section 82 KZM relates to small business enterprises who have not chosen to apply Section 82 KZMD and to individuals with non-business expenditure. In these circumstances, if expenditure relates to an eligible service period of no greater than 12 months and ends by the 30th of June the following income year, then there is no need to apportion across income years. However, if the ESP is greater than 12 months, then the proportion to be deducted is calculated by dividing the period in the year by the ESP. In this example, George is an individual taxpayer and the rental investment property is a passive investment that is non-business expenditure. The ESP is 12 months and the end date is on or before 30th of June of the following year. Therefore, George is entitled to a deduction of the full premium paid of $1,200 in the current tax year. That is, despite the service period being partially in the next income year, he can claim the full deduction in the year he actually made the payment. Section 82 KZL provides excluded expenditure from the prepayment deferral rules. Under this section, the rules do not apply to amounts less than $1,000, payment of salary and wages, or capital expenditure. To recap, we need to remember that prepaid expenditure of amounts greater than $1,000 relating to business expenditure, non-individual business expenditure, or an SBE choosing to use the provision must be apportioned to the tax year that the service period relates to, regardless of what year it was paid in, and deducted based on the number of days of the ESP in that tax year. For individuals and SBEs who choose not to apply Section 82 KZMD, then the prepayment may be able to be deducted in full in the tax year in which it is paid, so long as the ESP is no greater than 12 months and ends by the 30th of June of the following tax year.